Today's story starts with something simple, just a lunch. But then the guns came out, and the truth walked through the back door. Atlanta, Georgia, Wednesday afternoon. The sun was warm enough to go outside, but not enough to lift anyone's mood. A worn-out sign swung above an old-style diner, Benny's Lunch and Grill. Nothing fancy, but clean and tidy, the kind of place where the manager always knew who didn't belong. He walked in at 11:47 a.m., worn brown coat, scuffed shoes, felt hat pulled down low. One hand gripped a cane, the other rested gently on the counter. He didn't speak loud or act in a hurry. He just looked around the room, then picked a quiet corner table. No one really noticed, or maybe they just pretended not to, except Evan. Evan was the young waiter, the only one who smiled. "Good afternoon, sir. What can I get you?" "Fried eggs over easy, coffee, black, no sugar," the man said. His voice was rough, not weak, the kind of voice that had once said a lot and didn't need to anymore. About 5 minutes later, Evan came back with the eggs and coffee. But something about the man, the smell of the outside maybe, made the guy at the next table wrinkle his nose. A white man in a clean polo shirt leaned toward the manager and whispered, "Doesn't seem like he fits in here." The manager didn't reply, but a few minutes later he took out his phone and made a quiet call. At 11:58 a.m., a police SUV screeched to a stop outside. 2 white officers walked in, one older, one younger. No questions, no checking, just one long look at the black man eating his half-finished eggs. "Hey," the older cop barked. "This is a private place. Let's not make trouble. Get up." The old man looked up, still holding his fork. "I ordered. I'm eating." "I didn't ask," the cop snapped. "I said get up." Evan stepped forward, voice unsure. "Sir, he paid. He ordered—" "Back off, kid," the younger cop said, hand already on his holster. The old man gently set his fork down. He looked up, not angry, not afraid. "Do you know who once sat at this very table, April 16th, 1972? The whole room froze. The older cop squinted. "What the hell are you talking about?" "Right here, this exact seat," the man said. No one replied. He smiled just slightly, then calmly lifted his coffee cup, like there weren't guns pointed at him. The room didn't go quiet from fear. It went still because of a question, one that seemed to reach through time. Who sat at this table on April 16th, 1972? No one knew. No one remembered. Or maybe no one wanted to. The older cop stepped back just a bit. His look wasn't full of hate anymore. It was doubt. "What are you trying to say? Playing some kind of game?" The younger cop's hand stayed on his gun. "Stop acting smart, old man. You don't belong here." The man nodded slowly. "I've heard that line before, long before you were even born." Click. The younger cop unlocked his holster. No one moved, except Evan. The young waiter, hands shaking, reached into his apron and started recording with his phone. "Officers, he didn't do anything wrong. I served him. I let him in." "Shut your mouth," the older cop barked. Then the old man spoke again, but this time, not to them. He looked across the diner toward an empty space, one no one else could see. 1972, he said quietly. "A man sat right here at this table wearing his uniform. Just got back from a war no one wanted to talk about. But when he came in, nobody served him. No one gave him a menu. And when he asked why, they called the cops." A cold silence spread through the room. Suddenly, the present didn't feel like the present anymore. Evan swallowed hard and looked at the manager, who was now staring at the old man with new eyes. "That really happened?" Evan whispered. "Everything real," the man said, "especially the things people try hardest to hide." The younger officer shifted, clearly annoyed now. "Enough with the riddles. You got ID?" The old man didn't speak. Slowly, he reached into his worn coat and pulled out a faded military ID. The manager gasped at the name. The older officer's face went pale. No way. That can't be real. Then the old man asked one more time, his voice as still and deep as a stone dropped into a quiet lake. Do you know who was tied to the lamppost outside this diner after he refused to leave? No one answered. The military ID still sat on the table. Its bronze color had faded and the edges were worn, but the bold letters were still easy to read. Whitfield A. Turner, LTC, U.S. Army, RTO. The older officer stepped back. The manager whispered, "That can't be. He's dead. I read about it." Evan quickly pulled out his phone and typed in the name. A screen lit up, an old news article from 2004. Lieutenant Colonel Whitfield Turner, Vietnam War hero, reported missing after sudden resignation in wake of political scandal. Then another article, a yellowed scan, dated 1973. Black veteran denied service at Benny's Diner. Midtown protests follow. Evan looked up, his eyes wide. He used to be a legend. Then after that, he just vanished. The younger cop still stood firm. You could be anyone. Old folks fake IDs all the time. Old papers don't prove anything. Mr. Turner didn't answer. He stood up slowly. His hand touched the table's edge. Then he adjusted his collar. His back straightened. Shoulders squared. He stood like a man who'd once stood in front of thousands without blinking. The door opened again. A black woman in her 40s stepped inside, holding a worn leather case. She was his daughter, a professor, a historian at a local university. Evan had messaged her. "It's real! Your father is here." She rushed to the table. She didn't speak, just dropped to her knees in front of him. The whole diner went silent. "Dad, it's really you." He nodded and placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Still, he said nothing. She opened the case. Inside was a display box holding the Bronze Star, the Purple Heart, and a certified copy of his military records. They showed he had served as a National Security Operations Coordinator after the war. The manager turned pale. The older cop leaned toward the younger and whispered, "We should leave. Now." But Mr. Turner finally spoke, his voice calm and strong. "Don't." Everyone froze. "Don't leave. Not for revenge, but to witness. People don't forget because their memory fades. They forget because they choose to. But when the truth comes back, it doesn't knock. It kicks the heart wide open." No one left the diner. No one kept eating. Some customers quietly put down their forks. A middle-aged couple stood, walked a few steps toward the old man, then stopped, frozen in place. A local news reporter who happened to be there raised her camera and started recording every single moment. The younger officer, the one who had reached for his gun, now stood pressed against the wall. His eyes darted, not looking for a way out, but a place to hide. Hide from the camera, hide from the guilt. I didn't know who he was," he said, stumbling over his words. "I was just following protocol." Mr. Turner turned to him, not angry, not ashamed, but colder than both. Clear. "That's what I feared the most," he said, "that you were just following protocol, and that no one ever stops to ask, who wrote that protocol?" The diner manager, sweat soaking the back of his shirt, tried to explain. I just got a call. A customer complained. I didn't know." "And your response to a complaint," Turner said, "was to send in guns." Mr. Turner's daughter stepped forward, calm but strong. "My father survived torture behind enemy lines, but the pain that never left was coming home and being refused a seat at a lunch counter." She held up an old black and white photo. A black man in uniform, handcuffed, standing outside this same diner in 1972. His head held high, his eyes proud. "That man," she said, "was my father." Evan, the young waiter, couldn't stay silent any longer. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know. I just thought he looked like someone who needed a meal." Mr. Turner smiled, and that was enough. Outside, word was spreading. News vans arrived. Reporters, police officers, and cameras filled the street. One quote made it into the evening news. "He wasn't missing. He just wanted to see. If he came back with no rank, no title, would anyone remember who he truly was? A table, a plate of eggs, a man. Sometimes that's all it takes to rewrite history." By 2 p.m., the diner had changed. News crews were there. Locals came. Not to film, but to witness. But Mr. Turner didn't speak. He didn't want applause. He didn't want a podium. He simply sat at that same table. The eggs were cold now, but he kept eating, slowly, calmly. One bite, one sip of black coffee. A silent act of defiance. A meal finished in peace. Then a young boy, maybe 9 years old, walked in holding his mother's hand. He looked wide-eyed at Mr. Turner, then up at his mom. "Why did they point guns at him?" he asked. No one answered. No one could. The young officer, still standing in the corner, finally stepped forward. There was no arrogance now. No badge to hide behind. I don't have the words," he said, voice shaking. Mr. Turner looked at him, really looked, and asked quietly, "What will your son think when he sees the footage?" The officer said nothing, but the whole diner understood. That same afternoon, the mayor held a press conference in the diner's front lobby. "We officially apologize to Lieutenant Colonel Whitfield Turner, not just for what happened today, but for every single day he walked into rooms like this and was treated like a man with no name." A week later, a small brass plaque was mounted to the wall beside Table 7, reserved for LTC Whitfield A. Turner, who was once denied service at this very spot, and who reminded us that no one should eat alone, especially someone who served us all. But Mr. Turner didn't show up to cut the ribbon. He wasn't there for the cameras. The next morning, someone spotted him in another small diner, sitting quietly across from Evan, the young waiter who had smiled first. "Why'd you come back?" Evan asked. Mr. Turner sipped his coffee. "To see if decency was still alive." "And why just eggs?" Evan asked. Mr. Turner smiled. "Because eggs don't care who eats them. People do." He didn't need a crowd to welcome him. He just needed to be seen. And sometimes, the table they never wanted you to sit at becomes the one where you teach the world how to sit together.